All right, hello everyone. My name is Jared.
And I'm Chantel.
And welcome to episode 1 of the Poured Out podcast. All right, here we are on the other side of the bridge, maybe?
Yes, I think we made it across into this unknown territory, a new wilderness.
Hopefully we're not like plummeting. Like we think we're on the edge of the bridge. Or at
Maybe there's a
on
cliff.
The shore. No, we're... If you have no idea what we're talking about, where can they find out what we're talking about?
Over on my YouTube channel, Chantel Clausen, we started.
Yeah, so that's how this Poured Out podcast kind of got started. At the time, we didn't know really what we were doing. I mean, we still kind of don't know what we're doing at all. But yeah, we had some chats on your YouTube channel and knew we kind of wanted to go in this direction, and I guess we're gonna see how this goes.
Yeah, we couldn't just dive in though. We needed to work ourselves up, work our way here.
Yeah.
And then continue to work.
Still working our way, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But as usual, we don't know where.
Yeah.
So
story of our lives.
So Poured Out.
Yes.
Do you want to explain why Poured Out? Do you want me to explain? I guess, yeah.
Well, I'll explain a little bit.
It's nothing to do with coffee.
Yeah, Jared thinks it's about coffee, or should be about coffee.
I don't know if it should be, but I can see why people might think.
Yes, we don't drink coffee.
It's not a pun.
No.
I guess. Just kind of sad. I like puns.
So a while ago, did you look how far back our church was going through 2 Timothy?
I don't remember.
It was like a couple of years already.
It's been a while, yeah.
And this one phrase in the letter, talking about living a life poured out. Do you want to read that verse now?
Yeah, so 2 Timothy 4, verse 6. So Paul is talking to Timothy, says, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come." And so it means Paul at the end of his ministry, but the picture of being poured out, I think, it really stuck with you.
It did, and I decided in that service that if I ever got a tattoo, that's what it would say, and I'm too chicken to ever get a tattoo, so that won't happen. So instead we have named the podcast after it.
Yeah.
So I don't need to have a tattoo.
There you go.
Yep. It's good.
It's probably not as permanent as a tattoo. Maybe it will be.
Maybe.
So we'll probably, I don't know, maybe we'll talk more about the whole idea of being poured out later. When we were doing these on your YouTube channel, we were trying to have some fun stuff going on. We wanted to do like top 3s, and so you asked for suggestions in the comments about top 3s, and we had some
really good ones.
And so we decided to do top 3 shows, but we decided top 3 shows from childhood.
Yes.
Because we don't really watch shows.
It would be a struggle.
Now.
We maybe watched 3 shows.
Yeah, maybe.
In the last year.
Maybe.
2 years?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
But we decided that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because we intended to record the first episode last week, and then we had a sick kid, and that just didn't work out. So I completely forgot to think about what my top 3 shows from childhood were. Mm-hmm. So I can definitely think of one, just as like a nostalgia.
Why don't we alternate, and then maybe we can
remind ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
The first one that came to my mind was Recess.
Okay. I'm glad you didn't steal mine, because I feel like
we would have one show total.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watching Recess. That was one that I remember from childhood. Spinelli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't we watched a couple years ago? We watched an episode with the kids, right?
Yeah.
When we had Disney Plus.
Yeah. And there's like that kid with a hat. I don't remember his name. It's like TJ or some kind of.
Sounds right.
Some kind of letters.
Yeah.
I don't remember much else, but that was the first show that came to my mind.
Mm-hmm. The first show that came to my mind was Raccoons.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if that was a Canadian thing or.
Oh.
Because it doesn't seem like not a lot of people seem to know what Raccoons.
I definitely know.
Was, but yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what
the purpose of
the show. I mean, there were raccoons, and there was the bad guy with a weird bent nose.
Yeah, I don't know what
kind of animal it was supposed to be, but yes, raccoons was the first thing that popped into my head. Yep. I have no idea why.
No, I remember you talking about that. Obviously, you watched that quite a bit. We only had 3 channels growing up, and one of them was kind of sketchy, like it didn't come up very much. The other show I thought of was Full House. But I really only remember watching that at my friend's house. And you said it was... It
was definitely on... Because we also had the same 3 channels. Well, 4 channels if you count the French channel.
French doesn't count because we don't know French.
But the one channel is even worse than French because usually it was so fuzzy on our
channel
TV
4.
We couldn't actually... Yeah, channel 4. Channel 4, channel 8, channel 11.
12? 11? And then 12 was French or 13 was French?
13 was French. Was it 11 or 12?
Oh, maybe 11. Yeah, that sounds right.
But yeah. I do remember watching Full House. It wasn't really one of my... I wouldn't say it was one of my favorites, but...
Well, they had all girls.
Yeah. So. And I mean, but as a kid then, when like... You couldn't just watch TV whenever you wanted to, and there was very few things on, and we didn't spend a lot of time watching TV as a family. So it was like, if the TV was on... Yeah. Sure, I'll watch it. Because usually it involved like a bowl of chips and stuff, so... Yeah. And I like chips. So that's where it's getting tough already, and I've only thought of one, but it did remind me of, I think Family Matters was a lot more. I enjoyed Family Matters more than Full House because you gotta love Urkel.
Absolutely, we've been watching that together as a family now. Definitely love Urkel. The kids
are always asking to watch another episode of
Ephraim plans on dressing up as Urkel for Halloween right now, so
he definitely should. He can pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Family Matters, like watching it now, it's really interesting. Like there's always like the kind of moral lesson, I guess, that they always very obviously shoehorn into the episode, which is interesting. Yeah. You don't really see that so much anymore, I don't think. But
I don't know what the equivalent would be these days.
Like an equivalent show that would... Yeah.
Like, do families sit down and watch TV like they did back then? Like,
I don't know.
Like
because now you have like 10 devices in your house that can watch Netflix or whatever. Yeah. So everybody can do their own thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming there's still family. We don't watch a lot of TV, apparently.
No. Yep.
So...
Okay, I thought of my third one.
Take your time because I don't have a number 3.
I have a number 3. Flintstones.
Oh, Flintstones. Yes.
Because it was on for a period of time. It was on during lunchtime. And I went home for lunch because I lived in town and I lived like a block from a school. So I would go home for lunch and watch the Flintstones.
Yeah.
So.
That was a good one. But was that on the Fuzzy channel?
I don't know. It's when we lived in town, so we might have had better
reception
then.
Better rabbit ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't.
What about like your family watched a lot of like old TV shows?
That was more like after everybody moved out.
Oh.
My dad enjoyed like Hogan's Heroes and like those really old ones. We never really watched those though when I was growing up though. The thing that comes to mind, it's not a show, is the Disney movie that they would always have on Sunday nights.
Yep.
And like most of the time I feel like we couldn't actually watch it because we had something up Sunday night. It was like a church thing.
There's often church things.
Visiting family or something. And so then I think it would start at 6 often. And so then you get like the first half an hour of a movie.
Well, we would record them.
And then you have to go. Yeah.
Sometimes.
But how often did that actually work on the VHS recording and someone didn't press the right button or the timer was off?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's a look into our childhood and our poor TV times.
I'm sure there was other shows, but they're just... I feel like a lot of the shows that I wanted to watch were on Channel 4 and it was so... fuzzy most of the time that you couldn't actually.
And then there was like the like historical fiction ones, like Road to Avonlea, Wind at My Back.
Yes, my family definitely watched those ones. Yeah. Anyway, not so much TV lately.
No.
But more so books, which
okay, yeah.
So recently, did you get this out of the library?
Yeah.
Before, yeah. So I don't know. I'll let you talk about Adorning the Dark, because it's been like, I don't know. It's been on our. I just started reading it, and I read like the first 3 chapters. I feel like I don't know if it was the first page or within the first 2 pages. There's a line in there that's like, whoa.
It's in the preface.
Yeah, which.
So Adorning the Dark is by Andrew Peterson, and I read it pretty much in the span of a few days, which is weird for nonfiction. Normally, I like to take my time with it. And his subtitle here is Thoughts on Community, Calling, and the Mystery of Making, which honestly, when I got it out from the library, I had no idea what that even meant. Like,
yeah.
I just was like, well, Andrew Peterson, love the Wingfeather Saga. Like, he wrote Is He Worthy?
Yeah.
And I didn't really know anything else about him. And this has like just changed me. So in the preface, second paragraph, he has this line, and it says, his calling, to paraphrase here at the beginning here, it says, as I understand it, is to use whatever gifts I've been given to tell the truth as beautifully as I can. And that line hit me, and I was like, okay. I told you after I had read that, I was like, we need to buy this book.
Yeah.
Like, second paragraph in.
So we bought that book, and in his book that he just
came out last year.
It was just God of the Garden, which is, I think, seems to be a similar kind of idea, but more on creation and culture, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what the subtitle is, something like that.
But yeah, that whole, I don't know, that line seems like that's just such a really good line, such a really good way to sum up like kind of our responsibility as believers, especially because essentially that's about glorifying God with the gifts that he's given you.
Yeah.
And
I love the word beautifully in there, because everything that God has done is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's beautifully good news, and to share the truth in any way that doesn't have beauty to it kind of feels like that's not accurate then, right? Like, how can you not share the good news of Jesus in a way that's, or how can you share it in a way that's like boring and right. dull and bland, right? Yeah. And then, I mean, there's more. I think I'm on chapter 4 maybe. So there's a lot in there. I mean, he talks about, so far he's been talking about his songwriting and stuff like that, and just struggles with like kind of almost getting out of your own head and all the negative thoughts. And it kind of made me think of our attempt to start some kind of podcast right. like this, because I feel like that's kind of, it's a way that we want to like share the truth in a positive, encouraging way. But then there's all these like, well, what do you have to say?
Yeah.
Like,
who are
like,
we
yeah.
to?
And like, I'm just some dummy. Like, why does anybody want to listen to what you have to say? And he kind of says very similar things. Like,
I think I have that part highlighted as well, actually. Let's see if I can find it here. He's talking about self-doubt, right? I'm no longer surprised by my capacity for self-doubt, but I've learned that the only way to victory is to lose myself, to surrender to sacredness, which is safer than insecurity. I have to accept the fact that I'm beloved by God. That's it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's something to just like, I mean, kind of doing what you're called to do. And I think everyone is called to glorify God.
Yeah.
And everyone's called to do that in a different way. But sometimes we want to like stifle that, or like not really do what we've been called to do because we're, you know, stuck in our own insecurities, or we're thinking about ourselves essentially, instead of just thinking about the goodness of God.
Yeah. Yeah, this book, it's powerful, and I feel like it's probably going to change my life in a few different ways. Highly recommend it.
I highly recommend the first 3 chapters at least. No, I mean, his other work that, I mean, the Wingfeather Tales are probably my favorite. They're not really, are they middle grade books?
They're middle grade fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, probably my favorite middle grade books, just for like the message in them is so rich, and it's so like full of the gospel, but not in a way that's like, oh, this is just like a direct
it's not like
correlation.
It's not like an allegory, or like it's not very in your face. It's all very, it's subtle, but it's
so
there.
obvious at the same time, right? Like it's not like ham-fisted. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so well written.
Yeah, powerful. And reading this book, I was like, okay, I should probably listen to some Andrew Peterson music, and it made me realize that my issue, because we talked about a few weeks ago how I don't really listen to music, and I think it is just because I didn't realize what kind of music I like to listen to, and I've been listening to music a ton this last week, especially compared to what I have in the past, and it's like I just never really realized what I like, and I really like his lyrics, and like the music that goes with it too. But for me, it's a lot about lyrics, and a lot of the songs sometimes that we will sing in church or something, there's a lot of repetition, and it doesn't go as deep maybe as some of the songs.
Well, I think his style of music also kind of lends itself more to like contemplating the lyrics more readily. Like he's a poet is what he is, and then he's set his songs to music, and then because I would say like, so a lot of the stuff we do on Sunday mornings is by Citizens, which is, I would say, my favorite band, and their lyrics are incredibly deep, but some of the time, like some of the ones that have the most deep meaning lyrically are harder to sing as a congregation, so you kind of end up seeing the ones that are a little more easy to sing, which are not always as well, they're still quite deep, but it's different, like but anyway, very good songwriter, very good writer.
He's very talented.
Really enjoying that book, and
he's definitely telling the truth as beautifully as he can, and it's beautiful to see. And it's inspiring, encouraging.
And it's nice to see or to hear from someone that's like, okay, they struggle with this too. It's not just, I'm writing songs and I just, I need to write a song, so I'll just, bang that out in the afternoon or whatever. Like it's like a process, and it's hard work, and but it's the work is worth it.
And like he admits he still feels insecure, and it's in some ways it's like, oh man, I'm never gonna get to that place where I'm not gonna feel insecure. But then it's also encouraging that, like, okay, if Andrew Peterson feels this way, it's okay that I feel this way. Like, it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just
no, because like, I mean, in a way that we should feel insecure because we aren't capable of things on our own, and that's like the point. Isn't that now we're going to be able to do all these things because I have the confidence, but it's being, I guess, willing to step out and do the things that God's called you to do, knowing that you're incapable of doing them, but knowing that he's there with you, empowering you. And and so, I mean, that's kind of similar in vein to the idea of this podcast, and even the idea of the name of being poured out. Because it's about like living your life, I guess, not for yourself, first of all, which I think is something that's always a struggle. It's not like it's like, oh yeah, I want to live this way and now it's easy. But thinking of like the music side of things and how you didn't really listen to music for a long time, or haven't much, I find that music is what helps to fill me, so that I can pour out in other areas. That's one of the biggest things for me, that I noticed when I am really struggling to not be selfish and not just want to do my own thing, is just to stop and listen to some music. And I don't know, because we can't continually pour out. No. Like, we're not, because the whole concept of being poured out means there's something in you that is pouring out of you, right?
Like, you've already had something poured in.
And it's like, even the idea of like, you're pouring out, but you're not, it's like we're like the vessel, the cup, I guess, and you're pouring out, but you're pouring out what's been poured into you. And so if you're not being constantly like reminded of the gospel, and that's through, like, for me it's a lot through music, but it's also, you know, Sunday mornings, it's throughout the week, you know, reading the Bible, talking to other people. But without that, without being poured into, I guess you can't pour out on others, is what I'm trying to say in a really fumbly way.
You're telling it beautifully.
So, yeah, any other thoughts on poured out? Why that struck you? Why that's kind of stuck with you for the last few years?
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of what you've said, and really going back to not living this life for ourselves. Like, being poured out means you're spending your time and your energy and your gifts to help others in some way. And it is my nature just to want to spend time alone and do my own thing and not be inconvenienced by other people. And being poured out means we are spending our lives focusing on others. But also, like you said, you have to be poured into. You have to have, like we talked about in our last time that we were talking about rest, and how you need rest. You don't just continually go and go. But at the end of my life, I don't want to be like, oh, I have all this energy and I could have been using it, but instead I saved it for myself when I should have been pouring it into other people.
Right. It's like the talent parable, right? Where it's like, you know, you've been given a certain amount of resources, gifts, whatever it is, and so you've been given them not just to enjoy for yourself, but to give to others, and in giving them to others and pouring yourself out in that way, and that's how it multiplies, and that's what we've been called to do, not just, you know, hoard it for ourselves. And which is really tempting to do a lot of the time. It's certainly easier.
Yes, it takes less out of you. Obviously, if you're not pouring out, then you have it all piling in. Yeah,
and I think, especially in the last few years with fostering, it's certainly felt like a more pouring out season than, like, I think there's seasons where you feel like maybe there's more being poured out than is being poured in.
Yeah.
And I feel like the last few years have kind of felt like that, especially at certain points in time when there's been a lot of upheaval in
a lot of uncertainty,
fostering situations. And so that's why, it's probably helped bring that to mind a lot more, because it's easy to kind of picture feeling kind of empty, I guess, in some ways, but at the same time, it's like, I don't regret living that way, like pouring ourselves out in that way, because we've also been poured into in other ways because of that. I mean, we've seen growth in ourselves and in our kids, which is encouraging. So,
yep, I agree with that.
Okay, so that's the idea around the poured out name.
Yes, nothing to do with coffee.
No. If anything, it could have been done with tea for me, but I mean, you don't like tea, so
maybe by the end of this journey of this podcast, maybe by then we'll have started drinking coffee.
I've considered it a few times over the years, but
I haven't even.
Yeah, I'll stick with my tea probably. We'll see. But that is not. Yeah.
It's not about the coffee.
It's not about the coffee.
All that to say.
About the lack of coffee. Yeah, and so I mean, this is kind of the format that things will be for now, I guess.
Yeah.
We're just gonna sit down and chat about kind of what's going on in our hearts or what's been on our minds lately.
Yeah.
The plan is to post something every week on Mondays.
Yeah, I think Mondays makes the most sense.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can I don't know, wherever you're listening to or watching this.
I think YouTube, it makes sense if you're listening somewhere else to come over and like leave a comment, because you can't leave comments on podcasts. But if you want to be part of the conversation, give us ideas of different things that we should talk about in the future, respond to some of the things that we've been saying, be an encouragement in general. Mm-hmm. You can do that over on the YouTube channel, which is just Poured Out.
That is what the YouTube channel name is, yes.
Okay. Hopefully it will be easy enough to find.
Yeah. And then we have pouredoutpodcast.com, which, so if you want to listen, if you're watching on YouTube and you would like to listen as a podcast with your whatever podcast app you use, you can go to pouredoutpodcast.com and you should be able to find it there, whether you're using Apple or Android or whatever kind of platform, Spotify, maybe. We're new at this.
We'll figure this out.
I don't know. But yeah, if you're not on YouTube now, that'd be awesome if you could head over there. If you have any thoughts or comments, if you have any topics that you'd like to see us talk about, or I guess other top threes, which I'll try to prepare for more so I actually can remember what my top 3 is. Okay, so yeah, pouredoutpodcast.com, or look up Poured Out on YouTube. We'll try to make sure that everything is linked from the other platform, I guess, so that you can find us. But YouTube is a place to go if you want to leave us a comment, which we would really appreciate. If you have any suggestions or of topics or anything like that. I think that's it for today, though. Unless you got anything else.
I'm good.
Wisdom to convey.
No, I'm good.
Pressure's on now.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
See ya. That was in sync.
Backstreet.